Good morning, everyone. We are getting closer to Friday training. It's like the monster at the end of the book. Don't lie to yourself training is Friday. It's one of my best trainings that I've created. You're going to love it. It's 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Every Friday, if you miss it, not a problem. You can grab the exercises, guides, books, and the replays for free. Spotify features it, the playbook. You can see it featured on Entrepreneur, of course, every platform. And the playbook, one of the top podcasts in the world. You will enjoy the free trainings, which is my number one downloaded podcast, the playbook. Check it out. If you want my books, guides, exercises for free, my team will pin up there, david@dmeltzer.com, my personal email address. Personally, email me. You will not get a long response, but you will get a response from me personally, and I'll make sure that I cover that. Or you can join my text community, 949-298-2905, pinned below. What's going on, everyone? Let's answer a couple questions. Bring on some guests today here. Tips for preparing for an interview. Definitely. Be more interested than interesting. Find out who you're interviewing with. Find out where they went to school, what they do, what they like, what they don't like, and come prepared with questions. Come prepared with questions. Learn more about them. If you can ask an open-ended question, it'll lead you to other closed-ended questions that can get you emotionally attached to the people that are hiring. Find out and ask, what are you looking for? And then lead them to the capabilities, the skills, the knowledge and desire that you have with what they're looking for. So many people don't ask that question in an interview. Tell me exactly, what your ideal candidate looks like, and then mirror yourself. Make yourself equal, then make yourself better. Tell them what you don't like, what you do like. And don't be afraid of not fitting, right? You got to be yourself. In the long run, if you don't get a job because you don't fit in, good. I call that the sorority and fraternity issue. So many people, when they're rushing these sororities and fraternities, are all bummed when they don't get in, when they get, next, look, that's a good news. It's a good news thing. Your frequency isn't like theirs. You would not fit in. You wouldn't feel happy all the time. So anyway, let's take one more question and then we'll bring on a guest. See if we have some great things here. I always love this question. Jesse, thank you so much. How to stay focused. Look, you can only focus in on one thing. You can only focus in on one thing. So I want you to practice refocus. So at even faster than the speed of light, our brain has the capability of refocusing. And you can refocus on 1, 2, 3, 4 things, which gives the appearance of multitasking. And so what I want you to do is practice refocusing. Take 2 things that you want to do, like a telephone call and an email, and see how quickly you can go back and forth, back and forth. It will appear to other people as if you're doing 2 things at the same time, thus multitasking. But all those people that multitask at the highest level are refocusers. They understand and utilize the muscle of refocusing. And so what you want to do is practice refocusing. So activity 1, activity 2. See how quickly you can go between the 2 and make it appear as if it's 1. Activity 1, activity 2, activity 3. See how quickly you can go between the 3 and make it appear as if it's 1. That's the best thing to do. All right. Anyway, let's bring on our lovely guest. And we have a special number 1 book, Dirt. Growing Strong Roots and What Makes the Broken Beautiful. I'm a huge fan of pain and suffering because I think pain's an indicator and suffering is the process to find the light, the love, and the lessons. Speaking of light, love, and lessons, I think your book is exactly that. It is a source of light, love, and lessons for those people that are struggling. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, David, thanks so much for having me. Let me know if you can hear me okay.
Yeah, I'm going to check my volume. I can hear you okay. So Mary Morantz, by the way, at Mary Morantz, I got so excited about your book, I forgot to tell people who you were in case they didn't know. Get me, you have one of the top podcasts, which I love actually. And what a blessing you are to bring and expose and raise awareness to the challenges that people face and how to pivot or angle to a better situation for themselves. What are some of the key lessons that you learned writing the book Dirt?
Oh, wow. Well, I think probably the biggest lesson, first I'll kind of say, like, if I were going to give my elevator pitch of the book, it would be single wide trailer in rural West Virginia to Yale Law School. And I think a lot of people going into the book, myself included, thought that was really what it was about. It was about me and how I ended up at Yale. What this book becomes much more about, and this kind of goes back, I saw on your site you have the goal of 1 billion people happy.
Don't limit me, over 1 billion
Over,
people.
over 1 billion. I love it. No limits. And I think one of the things I discovered about myself, but more importantly about why this is all of our story, is that so many of us are not happy because we are trying to achieve our way into worth. We're trying so hard to run away from failure or these parts of our story that feel messy or muddy or shame-filled, that we kind of end up stumbling into success along the way, and the switch gets flipped where it goes, ooh, that felt good. That felt safe for a second. That felt like I was something other than the trailer park girl or the single-wide trailer girl or whatever it is in your story that you're worried about. And so it becomes kind of the drug of choice, this drug that seems to numb but never satisfy. And so I would say that's one of the biggest takeaways, is you can go out and you can change your story and you can achieve big things, and there's no reason not to do that, but just don't do it for that reason that you think it's going to fill that hole. Like, we got to go back and deal with the hole, and then the success actually comes from a better place.
I have a question about Yale Law School, who, by the way, rejected me.
Oh, no.
But that's okay. Have you seen the Hillbilly Legacy? What are they recruiting people from
Yeah.
the back roads and the backwoods of trailers now to go to Yale Law School? Because it seems like
Yeah.
they have the secret sauce of finding the exceptional human beings like yourself, and of course from that TV show.
Yeah, I read Hillbilly Elegy a few years ago. It's been a while, but I haven't gotten to see the movie yet. I do want to see it. And, in that elevator pitch version, JD and I do have very similar stories.
Yeah, it's
Actually,
crazy.
be a law.
I thought, like, I'm reading about you. I'm like, come on, did JD kind of like steal your story and make it
Yeah.
his? But he did. It's so cool.
Well,
And
I think that's a fear, and that's probably something a lot of people watching also feel, is there's this thing you want to go do, and you feel like it's already been done, right? You feel like, why would anybody want my gift, whatever that is, when there's so many people more established already doing it, they're already known for that thing. Humble beginnings to the Ivy League has been told about 12 different ways, but I had to find a way, and I think that comes part in that achieving for your worth, and also just that faith story that you see as it comes through, of what it looks like for this to be really a redemption song, and about making peace with your past, and we go out in the world to find our way back home, to finally understand it for the first time. So that's really kind of, I think, more what Dirt is. But yeah,
it's so. And I mean, the acting in the movie is so good with Glenn Close, especially, and Amy Adams. They're incredible. So you have to see the movie, especially for you. But moreover, growing up with a single mom, 6 kids, food stamps, packing our dinners in a paper bag. All my siblings went to the Ivy Leagues: Harvard, Penn, Columbia. I'm the only one that got rejected. I think my first choice was Stanford, and my siblings turned down Stanford to go to the other schools, I think, to spite me, and would make it even worse on me that, dude, you're not even my second choice. And they didn't accept you. But there's so many critical individuals in my life. And in the movie, the grandma is the protagonist of, the catalyst that wants to make a change in the family. I call it a quantum memory. There's a shift. And my mom was that person for our family, right? She was going to make a quantum shift from poverty into extreme education and opportunity. Who was that catalyst for you to break the quantum chain that you were raised and born into?
Yeah, the first thing I'll say is that I don't know if you feel this way, David, but I feel like those of us who have that kind of hard story, and then we have gone out and we've achieved things, we recognize, it's like game recognizes game. So when I was on your site, I was like, oh, I want to hear what happened in his story that drove him to this kind of, because I mean, there is this element of, when you have a hard thing in your story, you can use that to your advantage, and it can drive you to good things. For me, so Mama for JD and Hillbilly Elegy, for me, I would say I had a few different adults. My grandma Goldie Philistine King, 5'2" and a towering force in our family tree. My dad, J.R. Bess, who went to work in the woods as a logger when he was 12. And even my mom, as you see in the book, my mom leaves when I'm 9. But it's not as cut and dry. There's nothing in this book that's black and white or caricature. there are complicated reasons that she leaves that she believes she believed to this day were so that I could have a better life. So there are studies that say if a child will have just one adult take an interest in their lives, it can change the whole trajectory of their life.
That's the basis of my mission. I want to be that one adult.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
I have a question. Did you eat dinner with your family?
We did, but not.
You know, that's the number one common denominator of people that went to the Ivy Leagues, more than private school, more than having money, is that Ivy League students had dinner with their family.
Interesting. I did not know that. It was not so traditional though, because we would typically eat it either on the couch watching TV, or maybe I would be on the floor, and we would we would eat it in my grandma's house, and my dad would come home from work, and we would sort of individually eat in different places, and then he would go. So we were eating at the same time mostly, but it wasn't like an engaged conversation.
Speaking with you, one of my favorite lines as I speak around the world, I sometimes start off, with the story of how I grew up. And I said, who here grew up poor? And half the audience raises their hand.
Yeah.
And then I tell them, I feel sorry for the rest of you.
Yeah.
Right. And I really do. My biggest fear is for my children, because, my biggest strength is I must be what I can be. And to teach people of affluence that they must be what they can be is much more difficult than somebody that has nothing. It's just, you and I both know why, because we've lived it. What are some of the things that people of affluence, people that don't have struggle, people that aren't pushed to the, I say my bottom had a basement. That's how low that I've gotten twice in my life. My bottom had a basement. How do we help people, with your book, to grow strong roots, to make the broken beautiful without having the fear, pressure, and the hurt?
Yeah. Oh man. So gosh, there are like 7 different angles I want to approach that. The first is that I have, as you probably do, I have a lot of friends who have these things in their stories that they flip that switch and made you feel like you have to go achieve. And many of us have said to one another, there's a part of us that's afraid to get healed, because what if we lose that drive in the process?
I love that.
I
went through that. I've never thought of it that way, but that just like gave me goosebumps, because, as I lost everything in 2008 and had a huge climb, my biggest fear, right? That's the self-sabotage was created because I was so afraid I'd have nothing to motivate me.
Yeah. And I think about the other side of that is twofold. The first is that there's a part in Dirt where I talk about, there were so many times in my life growing up, that if I could have snapped my fingers and Freaky Friday'd with somebody else, an easy story person that I perceived as having this easy story, I would have done that in a heartbeat. I want that life. I want that life. I want that life. And the moment as an adult, many, many years later, that I realized if I had been granted that wish, if I could have Freaky Friday'd with them, but it meant I would have to give up every bit of the empathy, the kindness, this gentleness, the soft corners, the grit, the tenacity. I say I have this non-scientific theory that we are all born into the world with hard edges, and like progressively finer sandpaper, these hard things that happen to us round off the edges so we can become soft people, soft places to land. And easy story people, there's a certain level of surface, there's a certain level of plastic, there's a certain level of hard edges where they don't understand how they exclude, or they step on raw nerve endings because they don't have them. And so that's the first step, is for us, it's embracing that this hard part of our story made us kinder. But I think like for all of us, and you talked about your kids, Justin and I don't have kids yet, but we're hoping to.
And hi, Justin. I saw he's watching. Hi, Justin.
Yeah. He's a good guy. I think about that all the time of, what is going to be that thing in my kids' life where they don't take this for granted, where they don't become easy story people. But some easy story people, and this is where I'm headed to answer your question, like Justin, who grew up in a suburb in New Jersey, happy parents, still in love, like the 18-year-olds who met right after high school, grandparents, both sets, married for life, stable. Those people, and this is what I hope for our kids, my kids one day, is that some people, when they have that jumping off place, they get to go out and be able to be of service to others and focus on the world because they're not having to go through that healing first.
I
So
agree.
that's
You
yeah.
know, it's interesting. I'm going to have to let you go, but you're going to come back on either to the playbook or we'll do a podcast swap. We got to talk more. But, you know, your book about suffering, I see pain as an indicator, not as a stop sign, but suffering is the process of finding those light, love, and lessons. And it was interesting because I was saying that the suffering in my life just polishes my soul. And I will tell you, because I do have 4 children, that nothing will polish your soul more than 3 teenage daughters. Talk about suffering.
Yeah.
I'll go back and live and eat grass.
Yeah.
But the pain and lessons that I have to learn having 3 teenage daughters, as they say, oy vey.
Yeah.
Anyway, and they're living with me now, so
Yeah.
it's even worse. But thank you so much. Where can people find the show, the Mary Morant Show, and of course your best-selling book, Dirt?
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing I'll add real quick is that word passion actually originally means suffering. So it's the
Oh,
thing
right.
we
I
are
knew
willing to
that.
suffer
Yes,
for
thank
to
you.
change the world. But yes, you can find the podcast at themarymorantz.com. That's MARANTZ. You can find the book at thebookdirt.com. It is a book called Dirt, which is super weird, like of the ground, dirt, but thebookdirt.com is the hub for all of that. And then at Mary Morantz everywhere else.
Next time we get together, I'm going to tell you my dirt story that Joel Osteen taught me. It'll
All
be
right.
perfect for you.
Awesome.
And thank you so much for teaching us the lessons of passion and suffering, love, light. And we appreciate you. And Justin, thanks for joining too. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Mary. Great job. All right. There you go. If you haven't seen the Hillbilly Elegy, you got to check out Mary Ann. That is amazing. Both are amazing people. So anyway, moving right along, I'm gonna take a quick question, then I'm gonna look for Alex Alonso. Alex wanted to come on and hang out with the group today. Inspiration versus motivation, doing a live at 9. Would love your high vibe insight. Yes, absolutely. Look, motivation gets you up, gets you back up, gets you started, gets you back started, but it ain't gonna get you there. Motivation gets you up, gets you back up, gets you started, gets you restarted, but it ain't gonna get you there. Motivation can be fear, can motivate us. Fear is the biggest soul sucker in the world. It'll suck your energy right out of you, but it's explosive. It is rocket fuel. It will push you off, but you have to learn how to transition that motivation into inspiration. Motivation will take you from a world of not enough to just enough, and a world of just enough to more than enough. And when you're living in the world of more love, you're living in spirit, connected to, with passion and suffering, connected to not only the greatest source of light, love, and lesson, but everything else in the world. And that's the key. You got to focus in on the difference of when you're motivated and when you are inspired. All right, Alex, make a request to join me, my friend. So we are trying to get you in here. Alex, thank you so much for joining. He's here. Just give me a quick request and I'll have you join right away. Thank you so much. If you don't make the request, it won't let me have you join. I don't know how to make a request myself. Anyway, Friday's trainings on Don't Lie to Yourself. Mary was talking about illumination and being comfortable with coming from a single wide trailer into Yale Law School. You can imagine how out of place she must have felt at Yale Law School with the people that were surrounding her and their backgrounds, but yet illuminating it is the best thing that we can do. Allow people to accept our frequency for who we are and what we do. Let's see here. I'm looking for my friend Alex. I know he's here, Jake, but he has to request. It won't let me do it. It keeps it's saying hide live video. So I'll take another question while oh, hold on. Maybe he joined us now. One of my angry friends is trying to join, Gary Floyd. He was a little bit angry in his comments. I'd love to know why. Maybe I can get him after I get Alex. Alex, can you please make the request? I would love it. Here we go. He made the request, and it still says hide from Alex. Is it push athlete, Alex? Because I see you at Alex Alexander on. Huh. I do not know. Jake, can you help me out? It's just not coming up. All right, I got to keep moving here. Here we go. It will not let you. I get it. Log in, log out, Alex. Log in, log out. So we'll get you on there. I'll take another question while I wait. Not a big deal. We will work through this as usual. How do you make the transition from motivation to inspiration? Hey, that's a great question, AJ. The way that we make that transition is that we take inventory of our values. If you're taking inventory of your values, your personal values, experiential giving and receiving values, if you're taking inventory of your values, then you're capable of a consistent, persistent pursuit of that potential. That consistent, persistent pursuit will allow you. Alex, did you log in and out? Because it's not letting me join. It keeps saying hide my live from you. So if you can log in and out, that'd be great. Jake, can you call Alex? I'm gonna go ahead and see if um, Paul's here. If Paul's here early, he should be here 5 minutes early. I'll take Paul first, and then I'll go back to Alex. So let me see here. Paul's been waiting. I should have just taken him. All right, cool. This is my friend Paul Schiffner at Push Athlete, wearable technology. There he is.
Hey, David, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. Doing really well.
It's so fun to talk to people in the wearable space because in 1999, I was CEO of the world's first smartphone, and it had extraordinary capability. It was too big, too slow. The battery was horrible, but the idea,
Yeah, yeah,
the,
yeah.
the idea is what we now wear, and I believe someday will be inserted into us, and I believe certainly it'll be replaceables. That we, will have this combo of AI and human aspect to who we are and what we do, especially in times of injury or damage to what we're doing. And hopefully on the maintenance side, our system can self-regulate as well. But to that, right now we're dealing in performance, right? We're dealing with wearables that help us perform. What are the key distinctions of the Push Athlete solution comparatively to all of the mass distributed products that are telling us that here's the way that what we should be looking at and what we should do and maintain according to what we see?
Yeah. First of all, yeah, I think you're right about where things are going. So, in terms of Push Athlete, so the product has really been developed off the base of what we've been doing for the last 7 years, which is we're athletes ourselves, so we created a product for coaches and athletes. And I was a baseball player and a hockey player, and I used to go into the gym and work out the same way probably that people have been working out, forever, which is, either you had memory, like, okay, I got to remember all the workout, elements of what I need to do, or it's on paper, or worse, it's you try to get it on your phone, with Excel. And we realized that there is a better way based on the science and the technology that exists to help athletes really optimize their workouts. So what we did was we developed the Push wearable, right, which is an accelerometer gyroscope. So you would know what that is. It measures motion in all directions, right? And what that allowed coaches to do was it allowed the athletes to strap this on their forearm, or you could strap it on the bar, and they could actually monitor the velocity, because we use velocity-based training as the science that we're based on, the velocity with which the athlete moves that weight or their body to really optimize their workout. So if you imagine someone who's a football lineman, they're lifting heavier weight, the velocity with which they lift that weight needs to be a different velocity than, let's say, somebody who's a speed athlete like a wide receiver. And so what we realized pretty quickly is that we could help the coach, as opposed to doing it on pen and paper, we could help them actually build these workouts in a cloud-based solution and then monitor the workout using this wearable. And it's been a huge success. So we actually have clients all around the world in all different sports. So, I know you commented on golf and the Masters in one of your previous sessions. And so we have John Rahm and Cameron Smith who use our product to help them build rotational strength. We have the Dodgers use us, the Nationals, so the last two champions use us to build rotational strength.
It's so specific and so cool. I've been to the UFC Performance Center in Las Vegas, and all my dear friends there, with incredible specificity of where it started. I mean, to think that MMA started in the backyard of some neighborhood house, and two guys beating each other up, to
Yeah.
one of the highest tech performance facilities that Dana White has created
Yeah.
there in Las Vegas. And the one thing that stood out of all the technology, the cryo technology, the water technology, the therapy, the nutrition technology, was this idea that of your wearable
Yeah.
was, if we could figure out, for example, why I was good at a certain position in football and would be probably the worst, left tackle ever created because of my strength, where my strength
Yeah.
lies, and where my
Yep.
quickness lies, and right, and they could, have, because it's not the amount of total, how much you bench as an MMA fighter. You may have an extraordinary quick, fast twitch muscle in your leg that is also, indicated by your brain, that gives you a 0.1 second advantage, which is why you can get inside faster, which means you should move a wrestling move instead of a punch. Or on the other hand, you may have a quicker response to punch with more power. And we've never been able to see that in any form or fashion.
Right.
It's extraordinary, as an athlete and a coach, to be able to see where we want to work on, because we do have the knowledge now to increase and improve areas of not only strength, but also weakness. We may not realize where we have a deficiency that could easily be strengthened. And, wow, your quads are extremely strong, but
Yes.
you've never worked out your hammies or whatever muscle it would be that would help you. I see Andy Dane Carter there. I always have to give a shout out when I see him. Where do you see
So
all this data and technology going in sports specifically?
yeah, so I mean, you bring up a great point, is around the ability to target this. And what's going to happen is that the science and technology is going to get more and more specific around being able to drive, better outcomes with less effort. Because what a big concern is, David, with athletes is overtraining or injury, right, when you're training. And so with pushathlete.com, what we've done is we've taken all that great work that we've done in the pro space, and we said, hey, for everyday athletes, people who are training for triathlons, people who are training for long distance runs and cycling, people who are training for golf, tennis, for a particular sport, because we work with, athletes in football, hockey, baseball, like every sport imaginable. What you can do with pushathlete.com is you can use the same wearable, right, that a pro athlete uses. And what we've done is we've actually brought in, David, and you'll find this interesting, all those pro coaches that we've got, that we work with, we've brought them in and we've said, let's put their content, their master coach content, on our app. And so what that means is that you, as an everyday athlete, you and I, can actually do the same workout. For instance, we have Michael Phelps, the strength and conditioning coach, Keenan Robinson. He's on our platform, so you could do the same workouts that he does, right? Now, you probably won't do quite as well as he does, but that's where this is going to go, right? This is going to go to specific workouts. And so that's why Push Athlete and the product we built is on the forefront of this, because we're using master coaches, the very best coaches in golf, in tennis, in hockey, in swimming, in triathlon, put their content on, and then allow people to use our wearable so that they can basically just find a program they want to do, click, monitor all of the workouts. Now, here's the other thing where it's really critical, and the whole industry is going this way, and we've really, again, on the forefront, is if you think about when you're doing, you're looking to build, to your point earlier, David, strength. We actually have built tests for our pro athletes where they can assess their strength, power, speed, and endurance. And we just put them through a series of tests, right? So some jump testing, some bench press, some back squat. And so we've actually validated this. We have over 5 terabytes worth of data, right, from our pro athletes. So we could actually put you as an everyday athlete through a series of tests to benchmark your strength, power, speed, and endurance. And then every 2 weeks, you can do these tests again. No one else has done that. And that's the key, right? It's not about, to your point earlier, it's not about just bench pressing more weight. It's about, how do I know I'm actually getting stronger? How do I know that I'm building endurance? How do I know that I'm building these things? And that's where the industry is going to go, is much more targeted testing, much more targeted science and technology to drive those things.
Yeah, and I, have the blessing of being old, so I know how things evolve in technology, and I see how my PCE phone in 1999, which won the Best of Comdex and the Greatest Gadgets Awards, are
Fantastic.
being integrated into
Yeah.
these great wearables and soon to be insertables. And I love the fact that I know how these points of data, you start with these basic tests, these 4, you and I will get together 10 years from now, and there'll be 4 million points of data that they'll be able to assess that is regulating your health, not just your strength, speed, etc. So I know at Push Athlete, but where else can people find you and your product?
Yeah, so go pushathlete.com. And what you'll see is you'll see a full definition of all of the elements of our product, all the way from the coaches that we have and the sports that you can access, what the technology looks like. And we're really in pre-order mode right now, so we're collecting all the people who are interested in our product as we build it through our beta. And we'll be launching it in the new year. So please, again, pushathlete.com, and appreciate your support, David. And we'll get you on the product at some point in time.
Yeah,
Right?
I'd like to be a 2-weeker, man. Send it out. I'd
Okay.
love to do it, and maybe I'll make it part of my show, and everybody can see my success.
You
So
got a great show, man. Appreciate the support you provide everybody like us. So have a
awesome.
good one. Cheers. Have a
Thank you,
great
my
holiday.
friend.
Cheers.
You too. Happy
Okay.
holidays. All right, you have it right there, our friend Paul from Push Athlete. Okay, I'm gonna pull something off here. Alex is here and ready. He's welcome and ready. I see him perfectly, and I will get him joined. He is the Chief Knowledge Officer of the Society for Human Resource Management. That's SHRM. And I had him on my podcast with his friend Nick, and these guys are so incredibly smart. I had to have you come on my live. Hey, Alex, how are you?
Good, David. It's always good to be here, and I apologize for all the tech issues. I'm not that smart.
Hey, you know what? Everybody has their gifts. Let's focus in on our strengths, and
Yeah.
your strengths is the power of the people, and that's what human resource is. And it's the power of understanding skills, knowledge, and desire. And it takes 3 types of intelligence, not technology intelligence. Obviously, you and I made it here. So beyond that, though, the intelligence 1, an IQ determination. And then an EQ, an emotional intelligence, but then also an adaptable intelligence. And you guys have created an unbelievable system and process in society in order to get a holistic approach. I see all these people from your industry. I saw Chris Knutson, who I think is a SHRM partner in San Diego. I need to hook you up with him. I see him there. But give me an idea of the society itself and all the different attributes and values that it brings for us.
Yeah, it's interesting. SHRM is really the biggest collection on the planet of people managers and or HR professionals. Figure we probably represent close to 1.6 million HR professionals in the U.S. who touch the lives of about 115 million workers. And over the course of our work, what we really do is try to help organizations get better, get more creative in the way that they offer a better workplace, and create better cultures across a variety of different organizations. And you referenced some of the work that we've been doing recently, and we've been trying to target that around how we help people make better people managers as a whole.
Yeah, and one of the key to me, I'm on a mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. A third of the life is spent working, or I call it activity we get paid for. I'm trying to get people to see that look, there's just activity you get paid for. Don't call it work. Don't create resistance that's not there. But one of the key elements of that activity is to understand the engagement. So I've been doing so much research on employee engagement, and I've read, and Blaine Bartlett, who's one of my mentors and business consultants around the world, he's told me up to 93% of all employees in America are not engaged. Could you imagine the productivity we would have, the accessibility we would have, and the graciousness that would be created, the abundance that would be created if we could increase the engagement of people when they're in their activity of getting paid, that they actually stay focused and refocused? What are some of the things that you guys do in order to empower that engagement, which I think will change the world and help me empower people to be happy?
Well, I'll tell you right now, 3 out of every 4 Americans says that the number one thing that would make them more engaged is having a better people manager. And what's interesting is having a people manager who actually listens to them, right? You talked about what it is that you have learned over your career and what you've seen. And I heard you talking to Mary earlier, and you were really talking about some of the things that happened in your experience, and you were sharing that. And most people managers don't do a good job of that. In fact, I think about my good friend Marcus Lemonis, who is a fellow Columbus alumni. I went to the same high school he did. And one of the things that strikes me is that he is always talking about it takes so much just to listen to entrepreneurs and listen to people and understand what journey they've been through so that you can help them achieve what it is that their new heights are, right? You talk about enabling people and empowering people to be happy over the next, for the, a billion people. And one of the things that we see is a real easy lever is just teaching people managers to do a better job by listening to their people. And it's not as easy as people think. The other thing that I think people managers would really benefit from is sharing their own experience. Share your experience and be vulnerable. And it sounds cheesy, I'm a psychologist, but share your experience with your people, because what people are most interested in is, how do I get ahead? How do I get better? And if you help them do that, you have an ally for life.
No doubt. It is so interesting that you say that, because I have studied listening, because I was a horrible listener. I was what they called an interrupter. So I could not wait to interrupt you and tell you what I think. And then through the process, I became what I called a waiter, right? I would wait for you to say what you wanted to say. Then I would interrupt and say, well, but I never listened to you. And then I finally understood being more interested than interesting, and processing what people say and making an emotional connection. How important is the emotional connection in this management process of, not only having credibility, not only being able to quantify the skills and the knowledge that are necessary, and, the impact and the capabilities that we can give people and drive them, but just the emotional side? How important is that in managing people?
Well, look, I'm the father of 3 teenage daughters myself, so I know what you're going through there.
And from Ohio, like me. And I just have to put this in there, because as Buckeyes, I have to tell Michigan, listen to me right now. You are so lucky that this wasn't year 14 that you were going to get your asses kicked, without a doubt. And now this will be the only year that you guys don't lose to Ohio State, and that's because they've canceled our game. But go ahead.
At least you didn't go with what my neighbor always goes with the muck fishigan, as they say.
I like that too.
Yeah. What's interesting is the emotional component is something that people don't want to bring to work. They say they don't want to bring it to work, and they don't want it to be involved in what they do. But what's interesting is when you do unlock that emotion, it actually leads to greater connection, and it leads to greater neuropsychological impacts, things that are better for people at work. They actually have better outcomes at work and feel more connected. They drive greater engagement, and there's a lot of research out there from a good friend of mine, Steve Robbins, who says not only do they get more engaged, they feel more vulnerable, they unlock more opportunity for others, and they bring other people to the organization because they get to share that emotion. So you all of a sudden you turn people into your recruiters, and you turn them into your ambassadors, and that's really something that you want to do. There's a benefit to unlocking that neuropsychology.
No doubt. And one of the key components of what SHRM also provides, which I think is an overlook, just like credibility is always overlooked in a pitch. People don't think about credibility, and that's all I think about, because if I can be 100% credible, I can get whatever I ask for. If I was 100% credible, I could ask you for $1 million. You'd send it to me if I was 100% credible. But moreover, hiring, right? I think, human resources spend so much time worrying about, the performance of, but they can really exponentially increase all of the aspects of success, of productivity, accessibility, and graciousness by hiring the right managers and the right people. How do you help people with the hiring process, and what things should we be looking for when we're hiring?
When I think about this, I look for people who are two things. One is incredibly intelligent, right? There's a notion.
That's why SHRM fired me. I like that.
Why do they keep me around? No. But, so one of the
that is a self-fulfilling. That's great. Yeah, the best thing to hire for is extreme intelligence. I'm the chief knowledge officer for SHRM. That's amazing. What a great way to compliment yourself. I didn't even think about it. Bravo, bravo.
I can be. That was not how I intended it, but okay.
I know, but I love it anyway. I'm an illuminator. I love it.
So, I look for people who are smart, but the other thing I look for is people who are curious, right? The key component here is I want people who are going to be inquisitive and ask questions, but not the cliched way. Rather, ask questions that really takes them to the point where they are tinkerers, right? What I'm looking for is that person who wants to tinker, who wants to mess around with other things, who wants to learn about other things and says, you know what, I see the connection between this and that, and this is how it helps our organization. Those are the people that I look for. So I have a tendency to ask people, not only are they curious, but I ask them specifically, are you the kind of person that likes to tinker? Meaning, do you like to draw connections between things and see how things could get better?
Absolutely. And I think one of the rabbit holes of hiring and firing and managing to me is, when you have curious people, you want to make sure those curious people have a positive perspective, right? They live with gratitude, forgiveness, because people that are curious are going to find a lot of mistakes. They're going to find a lot of challenges. And, I think it can be a detriment. One of the intricacies that I've had from years of experience in hiring thousands of people is that I believe, curiosity, beyond, for me, the first one is desire that you must be what you can be. Second one is curiosity tied into a positive perspective with gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability. Because if you're curious and a negative person, it can destroy a company because you're just looking down rabbit holes to find interferences, voids, shortages. In other words, you're focusing on what you don't want instead of focusing, like you said, on the second thing, which is tinkering and finding how to make things better. In order to make things better, you have to have a positive outlook. Last question, real quick. How can we determine somebody's attitude, perception, if they're a positive person or a negative person, or where they fit in that spectrum? Can you determine that through the interviewing process?
You can actually determine it. And one of the things that I find interesting is to ask them specifically about what it is that they do when they treat individuals or run into a difficult situation, right? And so I always think about what it's like when somebody is met with adversity, right? But you can ask that question and it doesn't really lead to anything. So one of the things that I've always found interesting is people who actually drop people into other situations. I used to have a colleague who notoriously, it was Brad Smith from Intuit, who notoriously would interview individuals, and he would go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to make this person wait, and I'm going to make them really suffer a little bit in terms of our interview, and see how it is that they treat other people, and see how it is that they treat my assistant, and treat others who are in the waiting room. And what you find is, more often than not, you can really tell a lot about a person's affect, whether they're positive, whether they're negative, what their outlook on life is, just by sitting and watching and observing. So more often than not, the easiest way to get at whether or not somebody's positive is just make them sweat a little bit.
I love it. Well, I love Sherm. I love you guys. Nick, say hi for me. Where can people find? I know you're at Alec. Well, you tell me where, because I'm not going to blow up how to pronounce it. Where's your Instagram handle? Where can people find Sherm?
So my IG handle is Alexander Alonzo VA. So I live in Virginia. So yeah. And then the other thing that I'd encourage individuals to do is look up shermpmq.org or sherm.org. That's the easiest place to find information about what we're doing and how we're helping make better people managers.
Yeah, I have a person that works with you. I got to introduce. He's been on here twice here, but remind me, Chris Knutson, Jake, I got to introduce you guys. I am so appreciative for what you do. What a great job. I think this is, as far as my 1,000, this is one of the companies that is going to help me so much with my mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. You have millions of people already impacted and empowered through the right perspective of leading people. I always say a great leader is an intelligent follower, and all of those capabilities that you were discussing creates an intelligent follower. And I appreciate you being an intelligent follower and a friend of mine. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David. It's great to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks, Alex. Take care. All right. We got my boy, Alex Alonzo, VA. I was trying to figure that out. I'm like, what's the VA thing? I thought maybe I was missing something. Sometimes I give somebody's handle and then I afterwards go, oh, that was pretty obvious. Sherm.org, easy. Alexander Alonzo, VA for Virginia. At that, Chris Knutson, you're welcome. That's a great introduction for both of you. Sherm.org/PMQ. Check it out. Absolutely. Great lessons today. Unbelievable lessons. Let me take one more question. Friday's training is on don't lie to yourself. Friday's training is don't lie to yourself. And you can email me if you want books, guides, exercises. You can go to Spotify. The playbook is featured there. All the great guests like Alex and Nick, and all the celebrities, athletes, entertainers, millionaires, billionaires, entrepreneurs, as well as my trainings. There's a playlist featured on Spotify, on Entrepreneur, on every platform. Last question real quick. Top 3 books to read before 2020 ends. I would read Atomic Habits by James Clear, Don't Take Yes for an Answer by Hertz, and of course, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. There is a Think and Grow Rich legacy book, which I'm one of the new 500. I don't want to self-promote myself, but if you're a huge Think and Grow Rich fan, check out Think and Grow Rich Legacy. It's a great book as well. Anything you need, any request you have, you want me on your podcast, I saw some people, you want me to speak, just email me directly. I don't give long answers, but I answer everybody personally. David@dmeltzer.com. I have a text community, 949-298-2905. We're here to be of service. Thank you so much. Join me Fridays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern for the Don't Lie to Yourself training, or catch the replays on Spotify, Entrepreneur, every platform. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, everyone, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. I'll see you tomorrow.